Record. Hi. This is a new channel, obviously. I'm gonna try and do some reviews on mostly movies, maybe some shows, maybe even some video games. I don't know yet, but this is the first just to see how things are going to test waters. That makes sense. Today I'm gonna be reviewing the Eternals movie. I know it's been a little bit since it's come out, but I'm still gonna try see how this goes again. I'm gonna have a spoiler-free section for those who might not want spoilers, or if anybody does end up watching this, and a spoiler included review, obviously, because I'm trying to review the movie, so it makes sense to me. So let's get started. Well, first, the spoiler-free review is gonna be really short, so keep that in mind. The movie, in terms of the MCU, did have a big impact, obviously, being its own MCU movie, and we've heard a lot about it being one of the biggest impacting movies of the MCU. Sorry if I'm repeating myself. And potential future battles to come are going to stem off this movie, definitely. Would I recommend it to a casual movie watcher? Yeah, I mean, if you're up for it, go for it. If you're a Marvel fan, definitely. I think in terms of character development, each of them had their fair share of story development and character development, obviously. Bonding with each other, hating each other. It's going to happen. So, not a spoiler. Who and what they are add something new to the MCU character wise. Although, if you do kind of think of them as other heroes, you might take a step back and look like, hey, this guy, like these guys kind of remind me of Superman, maybe Justice League, which their powers are very similar to the Justice League in that fact, except for Batman. There's no like just normal guy on the Eternals team, so keep that in mind. But as for now, spoiler-free reviews over. So if you don't want to watch spoilers or listen to spoilers, turn back now. Now, time for the spoilers. Yes, I know it's been a little bit since the movie came out, so probably would have seen it by now. But if you haven't and still want to see this review, please watch. I would go crazy if I got like 5 views in this. That'd be awesome. But here we go. So going back to the beginning of the movie, we start by meeting our heroes, only knowing that they're going to Earth. Not long after that, we learn that they're hunting deviants, seemingly just creatures like that for them to hunt, for them to kill, to protect Earth, to stop them from meeting the humans. Again, going back to meeting the heroes, only, sorry, brain fart, being around, well, the heroes and the deviants being around for even biblical times. As we learn that they've been around forever, really. Meeting our heroes, seeing their powers, each strong in their own way, of course. But first, starting with Ajax, the fearless leader who can talk to their leader of, well, she's the leader, but she also has a leader or a boss, I guess. Let's call them bosses, named Arishem, the Celestial, as we saw in the movie. One of the more powerful beings in the movie, definitely the most powerful, I'd argue, unless you're counting the main deviant, because he can kind of steal powers. So who knows what he could do next? I mean, he was created by Arishem, so we'll see how that goes. Then we go to Icarus, known by Dane as the boy who flew close to the sun. Only a story, though, that he heard from Sprite. But of course, he didn't get to meet Icarus until he later met him in the street fighting off the deviants with Cersei and Sprite. Icarus being the likable powerhouse, arguably, again, the MCU Superman, just without the kryptonite weakness and whatnot. But we'll get back to Superman later, I guess. Next up is Sprite, being the young illusionist made to eternally have the body of a child. After Sprite, well, no, we're going to stay on Sprite for a second. So Sprite, being the illusionist again, can kind of make illusions around her and others to give off a different appearance, as we saw Sprite doing so in the bar, looking like an older woman, but really just being Sprite. Next up is Thena, being the acrobatic swordsman. Thena also, of course, stemming into the virus that she keeps remembering her past missions and whatnot. So then more problems stem from that later. But next is Cersei, having the ability to, as she put it, turn rocks into water, or maybe rocks into wood. Definitely, as we saw, she did way more than that in doing so by turning the deviant into a deviant tree, which did look pretty cool in my opinion. Next, Kingo has kind of a gun-like ability where he can kind of summon this cosmic power. I mean, they all have cosmic powers, but he has the power to pretty much like have like these little balls on his hand, and he can shoot out of them like a gun, which he can use whenever he wants and charge it up and being even stronger. Next is Druig having the ability to control minds, which he definitely made that evident, especially walking out on the team a few times, or at least once. Then Gilgamesh being the second powerhouse of the team, being strong with his fist and not just, Icarus having laser eyes, super strength, flight, and everything. But Gilgamesh being a powerhouse only with his fist, like I said, because he can kind of create this like cosmic energy around his fist, and it's honestly it's pretty strong. Like if we do see him later, I would have loved to see more of him, but as we know, he's dead. But yeah, but he's strong on his own level. Then Makari having the super speed, also the character and the actress playing Makari were both deaf, but it was obvious, but really, I think they did good though. Showing off her abilities and the character overall, I think went pretty well. Next and last is Fastos, being the smartest and most inventive of them all. Well, he does struggle a lot though, because of who he is. His ideas, he believes, help to destroy Hiroshima, but as we know, it's not entirely what happened. But he still hates humans because they love to kill. They love to be the winners. I don't know, man. It's crazy. But the Eternals, of course, each having their own abilities, each helpful in their own way, but also being probably the most diverse movie in all of the MCU, in terms of gender. Well, not really genders. There's two. I'm dumb. Sorry. In terms of race, beliefs, abilities, disabilities. I guess being deaf counts. And age as well. But even with that being said, we still had our MCU movie being having the story plot and being, good guys have troubles, good guys fight, good guys win, but bad guys also kind of win, but they don't entirely win. And of course, in the end, we're going to have a big CGI fight because it's an MCU movie. But that doesn't take it away. You can still watch it and feel almost at times that it might not be an MCU movie and more of its own thing. But of course, then you get back to the fights and CGI and you realize, yeah, I'm still watching the MCU. So, which seeing all these characters way differently to how we saw them in the comics, if anyone watching this has seen them in the comics, so anyone has seen it, definitely realize that all of these actors, of course, chose to diversify among the cast and possibly to show people that, you can be a hero if you're this or that, and if you're whom and whoever, and so on. To show that heroes don't just stay selected in the one hero status or the hero race. And I'm doing a bad job of explaining this, but yeah. And I don't see this in a bad light, really. I think for the most part they did really good. It didn't overtake the whole movie, like, oh, it's definitely just about showing equality about everybody. But going back to the comic book roots, we still see a lot of diversity. But going back to the movie, a few panels in, we see Thena sharing starting to experience a disease where she would have to have her mind wiped because she's experiencing a disease that I can't seem to remember right now, but where she is remembering things that she probably shouldn't, which we later on learn that that was actually her from past missions before she had her mind wiped again. Which begs the question, how many times have they really been on a mission where they've had to have their mind wiped? Who knows? It's definitely something to think about, I guess. Meanwhile, an army in biblical times again are fighting each other, killing each other, just desecrating each other because one side of the army, well, the war is way more advanced. The others have guns and so many other advancements, while the other doesn't. So they start winning, obviously. But Druig wanting to stop the wars because he feels bad for the people. He wants to save them, but nobody else thinks that they should intervene. So Druig showing really how much he cares for the people and the humans, walking out on his own team, stops the fight and walks off. But there's not really much he can do against them, so he walks off with the war surrounding him, at least for the moment. Fast forward to the team meeting Druig again in modern day with his new village of people that he keeps secret to protect them from any wars, violence, and give them really, I guess, a peaceful and wholesome life. Until the crew, the Eternals again, come back from the Deviants following them. This time, of course, missing Ajax as she's been killed, as we later learn from I was going to call him Superman. Icarus. Yes. Sorry. Until the crew comes back with the Deviants following them. We're going back to the team with Thena's disease. The bond we start to see with Gilgamesh and Thena back in biblical times and Druig walks out on them is now more evident than ever. Obviously, fast forward in the movie, we see that Gilgamesh and Thena become very close, even so close through their bond, he can actually stop her from going crazy on them again from her disease. But even after Gilgamesh had died and been absorbed had his powers and life absorbed from the Deviant King, which you could call him that, Thena still used her bond with him because of how much she cared to kill the Deviant King, the Deviant leader, which by this time, of course, all the Eternals had met again. We're going back before Deviant King dies. We see Phastos with his new modern life, with his family, using his powers to obviously protect their house. After previously losing all hope due to the bombing of Hiroshima, but we see that he kind of gets over it. So now he's able to help the team again and build something that can help them to save Earth, because they find out that Arishem planted a seed in Earth for them to protect against the deviants, so the life can create again and again and be born more people, so that through enough life, another celestial can be born, destroying Earth in the process, however. But as we learn, the Eternals aren't all for that. Yeah. But by far, honestly though, in my opinion, Kingo was my favorite, being the most comedic person in the movie with his cameraman, his best friend, really. Comedy-wise, I mean, it's obvious, but still, back to the story. Again, sorry, just had to get off point real quick. Love Kingo, a funny guy. Then to learn that Druig will not be able to actually put the Celestial to sleep because he's just not powerful enough. Because, well, I mean, the goal is to save Earth again, but after learning that Icarus had always known about being the end of Earth, he was and continued to be completely faithful to Arishem, try to distract and fight off his eternal companions, and having Sprite on his side for no other reason except the fact that she does love him and care for him. But knowing she can't be with him because his love for Cersei and the body she's in, she knows that it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be right. Then as the Celestial emerges, starting to emerge from Earth's crust, we're able to see the team stop Icarus and Sprite by working together, even with the help of the Deviant leader, which eventually Athena kills, but has to separate off from Icarus. The Celestial emerging, they're able to stop it only because Circe is able to connect directly to Celestial and use his power and everybody else's power, including Icarus and Sprite, to stop him from emerging. And by doing that, they're able to save the day. Rather the planet, I guess. Then the story continues as Icarus knows that he's failed. He wasn't able to properly serve Arishem in completing his mission. So in doing so, he sees that there's no other point in his life other than to serve Arishem. The story comes full circle, and Dane finally understands. Well, I mean, Dane's not going to understand because he doesn't know, but everybody else knows that Icarus flew into the sun, bringing, again, the story full back in circle, as Icarus was the boy or man who flew too close to the sun, or directly in it, you know how it goes. But as the team is ready to move on, Sprite wanted to focus on having a normal life now, taking the loss of her powers and Icarus to become human, to experience the things that she really never could before, which Sprite's actress and character for me was a concern until this point, because Marvel having actors on for multiple movies, you know, having a kid actor as a character that can't age is kind of going to be hard to do unless there's a lot of CGI. But they decided to go off with Sprite becoming human again. Well, not again, but for the first time at this moment. And then you move on to this post-credit scene where Dane gets his sword. Dane Whitman, for now, at least Cersei's boyfriend at the beginning until this point in the movie, which at face value is a nobody, but when delving into who he is and what he could become, we'll see in more depth image of his character in the comics and possibly the MCU. With his complicated family background and soon to be MCU, he is, or could be, the Black Knight, which in the movie he is kind of unknowingly contributing to this, as we learn in the movie that his uncle that he never really got to make up with because of some unknown dispute between them. Well, in reference to the comics, his uncle was actually the Black Knight before him, but he wasn't a good guy. He was a bad guy or villain instead of being the good guy. But then Dane soon possibly taking up the mantle, we could see the good version of him again, just like how we do in the comics. Maybe even get good with his abilities, as much so to help Cersei, which he saw get taken away by Arishem. But as we confirmed with the director, not as we, but as was confirmed with the director of Eternals, in Dane's end credit scene, we heard a voice right behind him, which was Mahershala Ali as Blade. Just seeing more that we're getting Blade in the future. Blade being the Vampire Slayer, by the way. Which brings up, what is that sword, aka the Ebony Blade? However, in the comics, Dane inherits his uncle's castle, so we might see a castle, maybe not. But last thing, the sword was actually created by the great Merlin of myth. If you know the story of Merlin from any other story, you know, he's a wizard. But I won't do the rest of this video on Dane, just the main things I just covered. And last but not least, the end credit scene after that with Eros and Pip. Pip being Eros' wingman of sorts, introducing him whenever he goes anywhere with being his little troll, which can teleport, by the way. And it's interesting to see in the comics, Pip partnered with Adam Warlock and Thanos, but never really Eros. And we learned that Theros is Eros' brother. But now to see Pip with Eros, sorry if it gets a little confusing, or Thanos' brother in being a good guy, trying to help the Eternals from being taken away from Earth by Arishem, and going to Eros, or comic name being Star Fox, which, just to be prepared for the future, his possible abilities we might see are superhuman strength, agility, durability, longevity, flight, and the psychic control of others' emotions, which honestly to me seems kind of fun to see in an MCU movie. although who knows what he's going to keep, who knows what he might not, what we might see, again, what we might not. But really, that's all. That's all I'm going to cover for this review. I know it's very not amazingly made, but this is just a start. I'm hoping I'm gonna get better by this. Really, again, I hope you enjoyed. This is again my first video on this channel. I hope to be doing more. Hope to get some following. If you liked the video or my review, please, you know, just continue to watch. Really, if you want to subscribe, that'd be great. If you like the video, that's also pretty great. If you have any suggestions on how to improve or what I should review next, if anything, let me know down in the comments. I'll definitely try to respond. But yeah, thank you for watching. It means a lot. And I hope to see you soon. Bye.